Okay, so I'm going to get back to the modelling the spread of the coronavirus tomorrow, but this one just made me sick to my stomach. It's not just that Boris Johnson shouldn't be in power, it's that he should be in jail. I mean, there's levels of recklessness that you just don't expect to see. I mean, if you knew there were people with coronavirus around, saying that you go and shake everyone's hands, including the people with coronavirus.
Right, so Victoria MacDonald from Channel 4 News. There's been a bit of confusing advice about things like shaking hands.
Yes.
And I'm intrigued to know whether you've developed a personal policy yourself. So next time there's a visiting dignitary and you're standing on the doorsteps of Downing Street, are you going to shake their hands? And if not, how are you going to avert an international incident?
Well, a fairly simple answer. There's a virus going around that is highly contagious, and therefore we're not shaking hands for the foreseeable future until there is no more virus around. You know, because we don't want to spread a virus that kills people. Because you're a government that follows the best scientific advice, and that's what the scientific advice would be.
Well, it's not going to surprise you, Chris, if I say that the principle that we will guide us in all these decisions is the scientific advice.
I wonder how Boris answers it.
No, well, Victoria, I can tell you that I'm shaking hands continuously. I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody.
And you'll be shocked to find out that 3 weeks later, Boris Johnson tests positive for the coronavirus.
You'll be pleased to know, and I continue to shake hands, and I think it's very important that we, people obviously can make up their own minds. I think
Oh, really? People can make up their own minds now? Whatever happened to following the scientific advice?
Matt has said that people must make up their own minds, but I think the scientific evidence is, well, I'll hand over to the experts, but our judgment is wash. Washing your hands is the crucial thing.
What the hell is your problem? This is from a news conference on the 3rd of March. Everything that the government has done here has been botched. Basically, every other country that got scientific advice around the world, once they saw that the virus was spreading in their country, they closed the schools. And the reason you closed the schools is fairly obvious. Even if the kids don't actually get that sick with the virus, they are a massive vector for it. That all these kids, thousands of kids come and all play together, spread the virus around, then take it home to their parents. And Boris Johnson's, no, we're going to keep the schools open. We think it'll be better that way. Every other country in the world that got scientific advice did it the other way around. Put simply, they listened to the scientific advice that they wanted to hear. So it was on the 16th that the government announced its social distancing things that, you should probably try and minimize your contact with other people, avoid large groups, that sort of thing. A sort of fairly, a very British sort of social distancing that.
Now is the time for everyone to stop non-essential contact with others and to stop all unnecessary travel. We need people to start working from home where they possibly can. And you should avoid pubs, clubs, theatres and other such social venues.
Yeah, you should avoid public gatherings, but don't stop sending your kids to mingle with thousands of other kids at school. And it wasn't until the end of that week that they announced that the schools were going to close. They were telling people to avoid groups of more than a few people, but were sending kids together in groups of thousands. Then after that weekend was when the country went into full lockdown. Now, if you just take a look at it, it's about a week, right? So the virus doubles approximately every 3 days, so there's a factor of 4 here. You're looking at about a factor of 4 in the expected death toll from this lost week. And now the government is saying that if it is very lucky, it'll get away with about 20,000 dead.
If we can keep deaths below 20,000, we will have done very well in this epidemic.
So about 3 out of 4 of those would have been prevented if the government had acted competently and swiftly. As it is, we are almost beat for beat following Italy, but 2 weeks behind. And I was going through the calculations yesterday. Italy is on course for about 40,000 dead, and we are basically following beat for beat behind them. But when you know that it is a crazy infectious disease, I knew this from the second I saw the spread data from Wuhan. Its spread rate was roughly that it would infect the world within a few months. All of that was obvious when I put up my first coronavirus video on February the 9th, about 1 month before this press conference. With a crazy infectious disease like that, saying that, yes, you go around and shake everyone's hands, it's when you know some of them have coronavirus.
No, well, Victoria, I can tell you that I'm shaking hands continuously. I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody. You'll be pleased to know, and I continue to shake hands, and I think it's very important that people obviously can make up their own minds. I think
if you know that you've got coronavirus, then this is attempted murder, plain and simple. But if you know that some of them have coronavirus, but you don't know necessarily that you have it, and you go around shaking hands, I mean, Christ, all he's got to do is shake about 100 hands from that point on, and on average, he will have killed someone, which is pretty close to manslaughter. So that one really just blew my mind. What the hell was he thinking? And then after all this, to sort of hold up the shield of, yeah, I'm operating under the best scientific advice. Bullshit!